What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another Euro 2024 fantasy video. In this one, it's my team selection for the semi-finals and my wildcard is active. So I'm going to show you how the draft is currently looking and thoughts on some other players that I might bring in by the time we get to the deadline tomorrow evening. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like, hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Let's get into it. So let's start with how I did in the quarterfinals, and I won't sugarcoat it. It was terrible. I finished on 43 points. And the only players to get me any returns were Costa and Cancelo, double clean sheet for Portugal against France. And then Depay got the assist in the Netherlands game against Turkey. And I think Declan Rice also got the assist for the Saka goal as well. That was it. So 43 points, really poor. The only thing is, it only dropped me from about 79k to 86k. So the drop wasn't as dramatic as I thought. Maybe there weren't a huge amount of other great scores out there, or perhaps people have just stopped playing. I don't know. But it could have been much worse, right? It's still not where I'd like to be in terms of overall rank. And I think at this point, I've got to concede I'm not going to win the game. But 79k to 86k with 43 points actually didn't feel that bad. Like elsewhere, I had Trent, who I bought on for Mbappe. At the point I made that substitution, I was almost certain Trent wasn't going to start. And I wasn't even fully convinced that he would come on. But it felt like a small risk to pay, right? 2 points. So I just put him in. He only got 1 point. Van Dijk only got 2. De Vrij, who's much cheaper, ended up getting the goal. Cucurella 3 points. I took Lenormand off, who only got 1. I captained Bellingham. So on the first day, I had Mbappe captain, who, to be fair, has been pretty poor this tournament. I know, obviously, he's playing with the broken nose and the mask. It's not helping him whatsoever. But he hasn't been great at all. And then I switched. I actually had it on Depay, who got the 6 points. But I knew by the time I got to the deadline, I would put it on an England player. That's just how I'm going to play this game, even if it's not the most optimal way to do it. And it's between Kane and Bellingham, and Kane got 1 point, and Bellingham got 2. So it was just all round pretty terrible. I mean, Cancelo and Fernandes at 1 point during the game against France did come quite close to combining for a goal. But outside of that, I mean, Fernandes got hooked early. That doesn't happen too often. So it was terrible. The only other player I had was Nico Williams for Spain, and he finished on 3, got the clean sheet because he got subbed off before Germany scored. So, yeah, it was pretty poor. It is what it is. I'm wildcarding in the semi-finals. Let's see how the team is looking. So with my wildcard, the general strategy is to have at least 3 players from each team in the semi-finals to give myself a good chance of having a full 11 in the final. Because for the final, there's no substitutes, there's no captaincy switches, and we'll have the team sheets for both sides before the deadline. So if I say go for 3 French players, 3 Netherlands, 5 from England and 4 from Spain, even if France and Netherlands are the 2 teams that get through to the final, I'm going to have 6 players and then 5 transfers to get to the full 11. Obviously, you know, a player could get suspended through a red card or get injured, and you might not be able to get to 11 without hits. But ideally, you want at least 3 from each team, unless you're super confident about which 2 teams are going to go through. And look, I think the favourite for Spain and France is probably Spain. I think for England and Netherlands, the bookies' favourite will probably be England, but it's quite close. They're difficult games to call, and so I would have at least 3 from each team, and that's what I've done. If you've watched all my videos so far, you know I always want to have the maximum amount of England players, and the semi-final wildcard is no different. So I've gone for 6 England, and then 3 from Spain, Netherlands, and France. If you want to do the best at this game, I would probably have less England players and a couple more from other nations, and I'll talk about that as I go through. But I want to play the game with max England, even if it's to the detriment of my overall rank. So that's what I'm going to do. For the Spain-France game, I think Spain, that they're favourites with the bookies. I think if you've watched the matches as well, they are the best team in the tournament, especially in terms of attack. But I've still gone for 2 French defenders because I have to pick 3, and there's not really any midfielders that I want. So for my 2 goalkeepers, I've gone for Maignan on the first day and then Jordan Pickford on the second day. Unai Simon is definitely an option as well, but it's just more outfielders for Spain that I like. They've got a load of midfielders, like Olmo, Williams, Rodri, Ruiz. I'd like to have any of them, whereas for France, the options aren't quite so enticing, I guess I would say. So Maignan's in goal, Pickford's there for the second day. For the last 2 rounds, I've not had to use Pickford, which is good because he's conceded in both games. I've had Costa from Portugal. And look, Spain have definitely played better than France, but we know how France are going to set up. I saw someone on Twitter the other day say that France are basically England, but with Mbappe, right? Even if he hasn't played that well so far. and they will set up very defensively. They will try and make it difficult for Spain. But watching that Portugal game against France, Portugal had their chances. Spain will have them too, but I've still got to pick some French players. So Maignan is in goal, and then Theo Hernandez is my defender pick. I think ball recoveries have definitely been a thing I've overlooked a little bit in this tournament. I think Koundé is quite good for them, but I was looking at Hernandez, and look, he is probably the most attacking defender in that French team, but also he's got a ball recovery point in nearly every round. So it's 7 ball recoveries against Portugal, 5 against Belgium, only 3 against Poland, 2 against Netherlands, and then the first game was 3 against Austria. So in most games, he's got at least a ball recovery point, and there's still potential for him to get an attack and return as well. So as much as someone like Koundé might do slightly better for ball recoveries overall, I think I'd still pick Hernandez for that attacking threat. And then for my Spanish defender, I've gone for Laporte. I think it's quite close between him and Cucurella. I've just gone for Laporte because I haven't owned him yet. I think he is pretty decent from set pieces, and I've got the money to spend. If I need money to upgrade another position, then I'll definitely just do Laporte to Cucurella. There's not really too much in it. My other defenders, I've gone for double Netherlands defence. Van Dijk, the main man, pretty decent from set pieces, already hit the post for me once this tournament. Hopefully he can put it... Well, no, actually, I can't say that. I hope he doesn't put it in the back of the net, unless England go on to score 2 goals or something like that. But if anyone is going to score from a set piece, he'd be the one that I would bank on. But I've also got De Vrij, who scored in the last game as well. So hopefully they both blank, but I don't think that's going to be the case necessarily. So Van Dijk and De Vrij are my 2 defenders from Netherlands. And then I've gone for Gay from England because I just think he is such good value. And when he's played, he's been really good for ball recoveries. Konsa played really well against Switzerland, and some people are questioning whether Gay is going to come back in. Honestly, I'm like 99.99% sure that Gay will come straight back in. You could argue that he's been England's best player, and I just think that Southgate has his way that Maguire's injured, Gay is the next in line. He will play when he's fit and available. So I think Konsa, as good as he was, will be straight back out. You could make an argument, without turning this into an England discussion, that Kyle Walker's played really badly, and maybe it should be Konsa right centre-back, Stones in the centre, and Gay left centre-back if Shaw's not fit. And those 3 could all play instead of Kyle Walker, but we know that's not going to happen. Gay comes back in. So I've got double England, Pickford and Gay, double Netherlands, De Vrij and Van Dijk, and then double France, Hernandez and Maignan, and then Laporte's my other defender for Spain. So in midfield, I've only got players from Spain and England. So for Spain, it's Rodri and Williams, and then for England, it's Foden, Bellingham and Rice. Now, this is definitely the position that if I was playing without that desire to have the maximum amount of England players, that I would take some out and put other players in instead. I'd still probably have one, and that one would probably be Bellingham, although I think there's definitely an argument to put Saka in instead because he's been England's most consistent attacker. But Bellingham has shown he's capable of producing those moments. He's going to play the whole game unless we're defending a lead in extra time. So he's my one for England, I would say. But if I was playing without that maximum England desire, I would take out Foden and Rice, and I'd probably put in Xavi Simons from Netherlands, because there's not a huge amount of other midfielders from that team that I like for fantasy. And it's same for France. Like, Kante's pretty good for ball recoveries, but there's almost no attacking threat there whatsoever. And look, if Dembele starts for France, because we're going to get the lineups ahead of the deadline, that could be nice if he was a midfielder, but he's listed as a forward. So no one from France, only Xavi Simons from Netherlands. So for Rice, I would probably put in a 3rd Spanish midfielder, because I really like Williams, Rodri, Olmo, and Ruiz as well. So that's what I would do if I didn't have the England glasses on. In terms of the best 2 Spanish midfielders, I'm pretty sure I'm going with Rodri either way. He's going to play the whole game, really good for ball recoveries, hopefully on penalties as well. And he just comes up clutch in those moments. We've seen it plenty of times for Man City. He can go and get you, grab you a goal. And I'd expect him to do that more than someone like Kante. So I'm pretty sure I'm going for Rodri. With Williams, I've had him for the last couple of rounds. He's really exciting to watch. He's not going to last the whole game. We saw that against Germany. He was subbed off around the 80th minute. I don't know if I've overlooked ball recoveries too much, but then I was looking at someone like Ruiz, for example. He's not actually had that many, not as many as you would maybe think. So in the first game, obviously did really well, got 15 points, but only 3 ball recoveries. He just got the goal, assist, and man of the match, which obviously is great. I'd love a 15-point. I don't think I've had one in this entire game. 5 ball recoveries against Italy. It was 2 against Georgia, but again, he got a goal and assist, which he's capable of, and then 8 ball recoveries against Germany. So I just wonder if he is he the better option over Williams? Like, he has shown he can get those attack and returns, and then when the games get more difficult, like having to play against Germany, the ball recoveries go up as well. So I'm definitely going to have 2 Spanish midfielders. I just wonder whether I should go what would be seen as boring on paper and go for Rodri and Ruiz instead of Rodri and Williams. So that's something to think about. Just with the England midfielders I've got as well, there is a chance that I would just swap out Rice for Ruiz instead and just keep Williams and Rodri and just go for another England defender instead of Laporte. So that's something I'm thinking about as well. So I've got Laporte and Rice. I might go for Ruiz and Stones instead. So that could be an option too. But right now, this is how I'm set up. I think Rice, like Bellingham, will be on the pitch for the whole game. Good for ball recovery. He's got an assist in the last game. I'm a bit fortunate with the way that Saka scores, but we still take it, right? And then I've gone for Foden. I think that if you watch my FPL videos, I am playing this game slightly differently to what I would do in FPL. I'm taking a few more gambles. I'm letting the bias play a part in my thinking, whereas I don't really do that for Man United, despite what people say. I think Saka is the better choice, but I think Foden to me just feels like a little bit different. Their ownership is not that much apart. I think Foden's 19% and Saka's 22%, but I think with the people that are still playing, the difference is probably a bit more than that. So I'm going to go for Foden. He hasn't quite shown, I would say almost, I don't think he's shown anything so far. I don't think he's been great, but he is going to play. And he can produce that moment. And now everyone's kind of forgetting about him. This is the time that I want to put him in. Maybe we will see Man City's Phil Foden in an England shirt. He can go and get that goal from outside the box. And he is taking a lot of set pieces as well, it's worth saying. Whether or not that's a good thing, I don't know. But he is taking some. And so I'm probably going to go for him over Saka. But I think you could definitely argue that Saka is the better pick. So like I said, no England glasses. It's Foden and Rice out for Xavi Simons and Ruiz. I may do Rice to Ruiz and Laporte to Stones anyway, but right now that's how I'm set up. Let's talk about the forwards, which I think are a bit more obvious. So realistically, I feel like the 3 forward spots pretty much pick themselves, no matter how you've set the rest of the team up. The options are limited, unless you're going to use a spot on someone like Jamal from Spain or Dembele from France, if we get it confirmed that he's starting. You've basically got Kane, Mbappe, Morata, and then Depay or Gakpo, or maybe even both, right? I don't think going with double up on Netherlands forwards is necessarily a bad plan. But for the way I've set my team up, I'm ruling out Morata straight away. I had him for the Georgia game. That didn't go great. I don't really want to go back there. I need a third French player, so it's got to be Mbappe. He has not played well so far. The mass probably is limiting him a little bit, but we know his minutes are going to be great. He can just get a penalty out of nowhere. Same for Harry Kane. Harry Kane has got to be in the team. I need my 6th England player. And he's not played great either. And I've seen people speculating that this is similar to Ronaldo for Portugal, that actually England might be better without Kane at the moment. He's possibly carrying an injury, but he is not coming out of that team. And even if he plays badly, you never know when you might just get a penalty out of nowhere. So I feel like those two would be in, whether they're playing badly or brilliantly. And even though they're the 2 most expensive players in the game, the way that the pricing is done for the rest of the team and positions, there's not really an issue with money. Like, even if I took Kane or Mbappe out, where do the upgrades go? Like, where does that money get used? Like, instead of Rice, I go for Saka. Instead of De Vrij, I go for Ake. Is that even an upgrade? Not really. And then it's 1 Netherlands forward. Now, in the last round, I had Depay. I've put in Gakpo. I do think it's fair to say Gakpo's been their best attacker, but don't be surprised if I change to Depay by the deadline, because all those set pieces, penalties probably as well, and the fact he's a differential kind of makes me want to go for him again. But I think Kane, Gakpo and Mbappe, you're going to see that almost everywhere. They just seem too obvious, even though Kane and Mbappe have not played to the standard we know they can deliver. We also know they're fully capable of just producing a moment out of nowhere, especially Mbappe. So I'm kind of happy with that. I think either way, even if I wasn't picking 6 England, I'd probably still have Harry Kane in, and I would just drop a few midfielders instead. So I don't feel like I'm missing too many players. Like Xavi Simons, Ruiz I think is good. Some people might have Ake, different goalkeepers. But overall, even with the 6 England players, I don't feel like my team is massively terrible or anything like that. But let's see how it goes. It cannot go worse in the quarterfinals anyway. And hopefully I'll have at least 6 players in the final, and then my 5 transfers will get me up to 11. So if you've enjoyed that video, make sure to give it a like, hit that subscribe button. I will hopefully be back with another video tomorrow answering any questions that you've got, but I'm not sure yet whether I'm going to be able to record that. Either way, I'll have my final team selection video ahead of the final on Sunday, which hopefully will be featuring England plus 1 of Spain or France. I'm not really bothered who it is. It'd just be nice to be back into a final again. But it's going to be difficult. I think Netherlands are going to put up a real challenge, and there's just no guarantee England go through, especially with the way they've played. And also, I don't know if I've already mentioned this in the video. If I have, apologies for repeating myself. But I've got 4 England attackers, although Rice is not really much of an attacker. And England have put up 4.3 XG in 5 games plus 60 minutes extra time. It's not been great. Netherlands have got every chance to get into a final themselves. But let's see what happens. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you again soon.